guys, welcome back to the channel. Okay, so this is my Boxster S, a 981 Boxster S. It's going today. It's my last day of ownership with this car. I sold it, the guy agreed to buy it. He's coming to collect it at midday today. It's now 8:39, so I've got a couple of hours left with the car. I'm going to take it out and I'm going to do a review. I've been meaning to do this review for 2 years, so I'm going to do it today because it's the last chance I've got. Alright, let's get on the road. Alright, here we go. Right. If you own or if you're thinking about owning a PDK, my first bit of advice is always drive it in manual. Like 95%, 99% of the time I drive this car in manual. As soon as I get in the car, I reverse off my drive and I put it into manual gears. And that's the way to drive it, because you get so much more a rewarding experience from driving it with the manual gearbox, in manual mode, should I say. Prepared to put a lot of fuel in it. I don't get the difference between this and my turbocharged 911 in fuel is not that different. Alright guys, so this is my 981 Boxster S. It's got a 3.4 litre engine, about 320 horsepower, and I wanted to take it out for a last drive, and also I wanted to do this video about 5 things I love about this car. I don't know what you might be thinking. If I love this car, why am I selling it? And it's a good question. And the only reason why I'm selling this car is because Porsche saw sense and reinstalled the flat six back into the 718. But what I want to do is I want to talk about this car. So one of the first thing on my list for this car is the sound. It sounds fabulous. It sounds glorious. Even just at low revs. I'm not in sports. I'm not in sport chrono. I've not got the sport button pressed or anything like that. Even in its normal settings, you just turn on the sports exhaust around town. It sounds fantastic. I mean, I'm not trying to rev it or anything like that. It's just that raw sound of it, and interestingly, you might be tempted to always drive it in sport mode, and I can understand why it's a sports car. But if you put it in, if you take the sports mode off and put the sports exhaust on, when you change gear, the gears take a little bit longer to change. Now, I know that sounds like a bad thing, but when you're just pootling around town and you change gear, it's a little bit slower, especially when you're pulling off from a standstill. And I don't know, there's something about it. You get a little pop from the exhaust, and I just really enjoy it. So when I'm not driving fast, I'm driving to the supermarket, say, and the car's cold, and you don't want to drive it hard anyway, I just do this. And I have these little pops, and I just love it, and it just feels like a sports car. You get excited by that potential of what it can do while you're driving slowly. And let's talk about the gearbox, actually. The PDK gearbox. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that, you know, oh, PDK, you gotta have a manual. That's fine. If you want a manual, get a manual. If you like the flexibility of the PDK, then get a PDK. I've got both. I've got a manual 911 and I've got a PDK Boxster, and that's gonna remain when I get the new car, because it's gonna be PDK. Now, the great thing about this gearbox is that flexibility I talked about. If you go to Starbucks and you come out and you've got your coffee and you just want to drink it, you just put it into automatic and you can drink your coffee and you drive back and let the car take care of everything. Now that happens to me super rarely because I don't go to Starbucks. I make my own coffee, and it very rarely happens. But when it does happen, if you're stuck in traffic, etc., the car's brilliant at doing that for you. More rewarding about doing it, even when you're not going fast. That it feels like you're driving it. You've got more control of the car. Listen to this. Oh, it sounds so good. And there's something about this power. It's at 315 horsepower. When you're driving on country roads, it's just right. Like my 911 almost has too much power when you're on small roads. Now, when you're on a fast road, yeah, it's great. But when you're on a small road, when you're on a narrow road and you're in a countryside, you're on a B road or something like that, there's something about this amount of power that is just right for those roads. When I was in the south of France a few years ago, I made a video. I was on a road. All I knew it was called the D2, and it was absolutely fantastic. And I felt like I had just enough power. I think if it had been in my 911, it would have been too much for that road. So there is an application for this kind of power in this kind of sports car. Suspension in this car is fantastic. It's firm enough that you know you're in a sports car, but it's supple enough that when you're driving long distances, you don't get exhausted from driving the car. The tyre roar isn't too bad, and don't forget you've got a soft top, so you're not, you don't have that audible protection that you get with a coupe, but it's still a great riding car. It's not too hard, not too soft, and obviously you've got that button down there which I've never used to put it into firm mode if you really want to lose some teeth, but it's there if you want it. You can get a box called DSC, and you can put it in the car, and it allows you to program those settings, and it gives you the ability to make it a little bit more supple or a little bit harder. And the people who have it, they swear by it. One of the very important things, if you're not single, if you're in a relationship, is, it sounds funny that I'm going to have this as one of the 5 things, is independent AC settings. It sounds funny, but my missus is from Peru, so she's always cold, and I'm always hot. And in my previous car, I didn't have this, and I was always melting at below the waist because the heating was always on. So this is a must-have if you're in a relationship, and the other person, especially if the other person's always cold, which is in my case. So that is something that is a must, and every successive car I've had, or I will have, I must have that feature. My 911 doesn't have that feature. Does it have that feature? No, it doesn't. So that's a big problem. So obviously I've spec'd that in my new car, but that is critical if you want to have a happy passenger. All right, let's get on to the good stuff. The best thing about this car by far is this engine. The sound on this car is so good. It is the best sounding car I've ever owned, bar none. downshifts. That's the blip on the thing, so when you do the downshift, you get that lovely blip. Makes you feel like you're a Formula One driver or something, rally driver. I really want to put the roof down, but I'm worried it might destroy the audio. Oh, it sounds so good. Never gets tired. Okay, so let me put the window up. How do I summarize this car? It's really hard to summarize. I have some gripes. I feel like it deserves more power. Having said that, when you're on these kinds of roads, you don't need more power. I think it's actually perfect for this type of road. But it would be nice to have a little bit in reserve. But I'm just nitpicking now because it is a glorious car. If you're thinking about buying a 981, then you're not making a mistake. It's a fantastic car. It's also very practical, as sports cars go, unless you've got a big family, which you wouldn't be buying a Boxster if you do. You know, I've done my shopping in this car for the last 2 years. I've never struggled with doing my shopping. Obviously, if you want to go to a place and buy a wardrobe, this is not the car. But you know, if you're looking at these cars, you know that's not what you're looking for. But anyway, to summarize, it's a fantastic car. It sounds fantastic. The gearbox is fantastic. The engine is fantastic. Everything about this car is fantastic. I think that's the word. Today's video was brought to you by the words fantastic. It's just such a good car. Very capable. It sounds amazing. I can't get over the sound. I'll never get tired of the sound. Glorious engine. Gearbox, the PDK gearbox is fantastic. The gear shifts are instantaneous when you're in Sport Plus and fast enough when you're not. When you're going around town, you don't need to be in Sport. You get that glorious sound. You hear the gear changes, the pops and stuff like that to keep you entertained when you're going slowly. But as soon as you put your foot down and you get into it, it's just glorious. I look forward to going to the supermarket in this car. It's so good. So, you know, never a dull moment. Even when you're just driving normally like now, the feedback that you get through the steering, through the suspension, it just reminds you that you're in a sports car. And don't forget, I haven't even taken the roof down because I didn't want to disturb the audio. But the roof down experience in this car is second to none. In actual fact, seeing as I'm driving home now and I'm going to give this car to the new owner shortly, I'm going to put the roof down and enjoy it one last time. I hope you've liked this. Hope you've liked this car. I was going to say. I hope you like this video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and watch out for my 718 Spyder video, which is coming soon. I had the camera stuck to the window, and I put the roof down.